Greetings, everyone. I'll be with everyone in a minute. Thank you for tuning in to IBI, Intelligent Voices Israelites. Get my glasses here. Today we got an amazing segment today here at Intelligent Voices Israelites. Thank everyone for tuning in and to this segment. Today we have a very important message, puzzle piece to be released in the logic, knowledge and understanding of the word of Yah. So making sure that we greet every nation and understand each nation. So this segment will be for those who are seeking for that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to now understanding the battle or the wars that are going on or happening in the Middle East or the Far East, that ties together to the Gog and Magog wars, as we have seen, that has escalated in those part or those regions of the land. So give everybody a little time to get yourself together with your Bible. We won't be doing any keywords today, but there will be logic and precepts today. And we're bringing a lot of definition and clarity to a lot of understanding of what I was just talking about earlier, these wars and this catastrophicness that is happening between the nations, as people have seen. Many third world countries are fleeing and going in many other directions, which are basically coming in only the direction of Hamashiach, as I speak in Hebrew, meaning Yeshua. So Yahweh is the Savior, which is the son of Hamashiach, who therefore all names are now under. So give everybody a little bit more time to get yourself together, because we got at least 2 hours here today at IVI, Intelligent Voices Israelites, talking about this particular topic. But also make sure you have a writable pen, and make sure you have a nice notebook just in case you like to take notes. Like with me, I like to take a lot of notes. Your brother Yazrael Yashambaya. So to make sure that I can go over later. So for all of my brothers and sisters that like to do that, make sure you get a nice notebook and some paper, or a pen, a good working pen. So that way you can also write your notes. And if you're good with digital phones, like a lot of our brothers and sisters use their phones with downloading things to put like notepad and also word processor on their phone, so they actually take notes that way. I've seen people do it that way. So, but it depends on what kind of way you would like to do your studies and actually take your notes. So with that said, I give everybody about another 5 minutes, because then we're going to go into prayer. And on to our new brothers and sisters, we like to say shalom, shalom unto you and to your household, to our brothers and sisters of HOI, to our brothers also of Cold Cuts, and also to our brother Yazrael, our sister Yazrael Yamika. Just tuned in, everyone. So as we just seen her pop up in the chats. And to everybody else, anyone else like to also add your chats, this would be a good moment to start putting those in. And shalom unto you, sister. All right. So So make sure you have no distractions, everybody, because like I said, this will be like 2 hours. I will be probably switching and going back and forth from my digital to my physical book. So we will do everything with patience. So that way everybody will be able to find exactly where we're going into the lessons, because we know some of our new brothers and sisters, they just getting used to their book. So we always like to give a couple seconds before we actually go into the next step of teaching here at IVI. So I shout out my love also for my brother, my wife, Israelite, YABUSIIM, who just tuned in as well. And for all our brothers and sisters also around the globe, we shalom unto you. In this segment of IVI today, we'll be talking about the Hebrew word as we see in the header. And I need everybody to say this with me, because now this will give you the exercisism to speak in Hebrew. Now this segment is called, say this with me, everyone, YABUSIIM or Siam. YABUSIIM. So speaking in Hebrew, when you just said that phrase or that word, YABUSIIM, you're basically actually referring to a nation of people that reflects back to a nation of offspring of people. Because what we're going to be talking about is not about the people itself, but about the offsprings who carried on their ancestry. Here it is. I would say basically what we will see, catastrophicness over into the next generations. As Yah says, I have judged all nations accordingly to their deeds once upon a time. But then we know that we had Hamashiach, which is Yeshua, who is the Khan, who came through Mary and allowed everyone to therefore be freed by the belief in him and the sacrifice that was committed, right? So now we understand that this was a biblical, spiritual, historical event, which down here it is, still here it is, need to be explained to many brothers and sisters. So now, when we look clearly to see later in this segment, as we will after the prayer, we will actually start to find out YABUSIIM or Siam, as it is said in the header. YABUSIIM. And here it is. It will allow you to see what, who, and where did this come from. So with that said, brothers and sisters, let's go into prayer. Almighty Father, Hamashiach, we come before you with our whole hearts, minds, body, and spirit. May you bless our brothers and sisters of all nations, colors, and creeds to continue into the grace that you have fulfilled in their hearts. May IVI be intelligent voices, Israelites inside of them, as you have put it inside of us, to be returned as the remnant called unto, as you have actually therefore made possible through the calling of the Spirit of Yahweh, to therefore be the name that all return under. And may your decree, may your commandments, may your ordinance, and may your salvation, and may your redemption be upon all of mankind, for those therefore truly love you in their hearts. Amen. Amen. Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So now, as we see, we clearly now knowing that YABUSIIM is a Hebrew. And here it is referred to a nation. Now understand, when Yah promised to give Abraham the land for his descendants, it was described as being the inhabitants by many of the tribes. Now we know, brothers and sisters, this was including the YABUSIM. And here it is, who were the people, and here it is, living around at this time in the hill country. So now we're going to see, not only did they spread out throughout the land, you're going to actually see, as we're going to go over some precepts after this logic. Now, according to the table of nations, we see the YABUSIM was descendants from Noah's son Ham through his son Canaan. And they were one of the, here it is, YABUSIM tribes who were placed under judgment by YAHUAH for their wickedness. Now understand, YAHUAH described their pagan worship as abominable practices. Now here it is, YABUSIM. Now here it is, this nation we're talking about is going to come more into focus as we go into this lesson. Now understand, which may include, as we know, child sacrifices was done with this nation. And we know, therefore, as a result of that judgment, Yah told the Israelites to exterminate all of YABUSIM, this nation of tribe of people. And when they came into the land, as we know, when Joshua took them over the Jordan, we know after Moses, the Israelites were also forbidden to intermarry with them. We know Yah gave a covenant to the Israelites. So down the YABUSIM would not pass on their pagan practices. So Yah tried to cut this off at a time. Now we remember Noah flood as well. Now we come to find out that the YABUSIM is really the people of nowadays, the Jebusites, as we now have understood in the book, in the Bible, as we've seen in the table of nations, which you will have to read chapter 10. Now, you know, when you say the word YABUSIM, this is referring to Jerusalem. So now here it is, the people of Jerusalem is nowadays called, here it is, from the days of old to the days of new, they are, here it is, the Jebusites. So now here it is, they are the Jebusite people. So now here it is, when you hear this YABUSIM, then you know you're referring back to down here is the Jebusites, who are basically in Jerusalem. And now here it is, we're knowing that during the time of Joshua, now understand, the Jebusites had a king, Zediah, joined with 4 other Amorite kings to attack the Israelites in Gideon. And we know that he was defeated and put to death. Later, the Jebusites joined with Jabin, the king, here it is, of Hazar, in the pitch, here it is, for battle against the Israelites. But they were also defeated by Joshua. We know this, brothers and sisters, right? Despite these defeats, the Jebusites continued to live in the hill country around Jerusalem. So now here it is. We just started to now understand what YABUSIM is referring to a nation of people living in Jerusalem for many generations, brothers and sisters. During the time of Judges, and also some Israelites began to intermarry with the people of the Jebusites, causing Yahuwah to bring judgment on the nations. Now we know before they became Jebusites or Jebusites, We know that when David became king of Israel, he attacked, here it is, the Jebusites, or the YABUSIIM of Jerusalem, and conquered the city, which then became known as the city of David. As we now know, many times we done heard this, even in the Jewish people, is saying the city of David or the Star of David, referring to. And here it is. Apparently, David granted terms of peace with remaining Jerusalem, I would say Jerusalemites. So now here it is, Jebusites, because he made a friendly deal with, here it is, Arana. Now, Arana was a Jebusite. He was also a Jebusite or a Jerusalemite. And here it is. We know by history, it was about to purchase the land for building the temple that would come later. And the Jebusites remained subjugated to Israel and were part of the forced labor that Solomon, actually later used for building the project. Even though they were allowed to live among the Israelites, we're still talking about the Jebusites. The Jebusites and the other Amorites, you see this, brothers and sisters, tribes maintain their distance, here it is, or distinctive ways, and then became a continuing snarl, because here it is, there was a lot of battling, a lot of fighting going on among this tribe. And here it is, of the people of Israel, and with them as well. Now, we know Israel popped up. And then here it is, we know why when we read in Israel, how he was trying to reorganize or reestablish, or here it is, hold a revival among the Jewish or Jews or Hebrews who returned from Babylon's captivity. And he had to deal with the issues of intermarriage and the Jebusites, and here it is, with the other Israelite brothers and sisters. Israel commanded the men of Israel, or the Israelites, to confess their sins and put away their pagan wives, so that YAHUAH HaMashiach would take away his wrath. Now understand, after this, the Jebusites disappeared from history, so to speak, brothers and sisters. This is why we're having this meeting tonight. Likely they were, here it is, they say, absorbed into other Gentile peoples, which they were, who lived in the land of Israel, in the northern parts, spreading in the eastern parts, okay? And extra, here it is, we have a reference to the Jebusites, here it is, by understanding that in the discovery of Mara, modern-day Syria, we see they found tablets mentioning people called, as it was written on this tablet, it was spelled YABUSIIM, Siam. So now at the end of that phrase, you got YABUSIIM. So now this is referring to Jerusalem, because they are a people or a nation. So now this is tying you back to a wisdom. Now, when I had mentioned Zechariah, which I won't go to right now, we will actually go through some what we just talked about, because here it is, this will actually allow you to see all the evidence, because here it is, here at IBI, we want to show you the intelligent evidence, so therefore you can take even farther steps in your study with wisdom, knowledge, understanding by YAHUAH himself, our Father. Amen. So now let's look in Genesis, everybody, chapter 15. Genesis chapter 15. And now this is going to allow you to see why we have to use the logic of teaching by therefore explaining before we get into the lesson, because now this will allow you to understand what we were talking about, or what Yah in the Spirit was talking about. explaining to what we're now going to be covering. So now when we see here in Genesis chapter 15, everybody, we must look at verse 18 and verse 21. He says that on that day, the Almighty made a covenant. Watch this. With Abram. Now, this is before Abraham. Saying to your descendants. Now, you see there's an S at the bottom or at the back of that word. I give this land. To your descendants, I give this land. So now here it is. He's saying to your descendants, I give this land from the water of Egypt to the great river of the Euphrates, which is still referring to Babylon. As we know, Abraham came out of ancient Babylon. So this is proof. And then he says the land of the Kenites, the Kizanites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Ramites, and look, brothers and sisters, the Ammonites, and watch this, brothers and sisters, the Canaanites, the Gashurites, and the Jebusites. So now we know that Jerusalem now is a collation of many nations that was wicked against Father Yah. So now here it is. You can see why there's wars, or now here it is. There was once upon a time rumors, but now rumors them become into definitions, because here it is building character of who is basically at war and why. Because here it is, this is judgment. Keep that in mind, because now when you look at Genesis chapter 10, when most of you have went through that and see the table of nations, you understand now why we must look at the same chapter of 15, verse 16. So now when we go to chapter 15, you must look at verse 16 now. Back it up. He says, in the fourth generation, see that, brothers and sisters? He says, in the fourth generations, this is when he gave Abram, here it is, this decree, because he was saying, in the fourth generation, your descendants will return here, watch this, for wickedness. Watch this. Then they come into the land, and the original was moved out of the land, everyone. By who? The YABUSIIM. So now here it is. This is by the Ammonites. This is by the Kizanites. This is by the Gashurites, as we just mentioned. And these people have formed a coalition to take over Jerusalem, Israel, and it is trample it underfoot. This is why Hamashiach is so upset. So now when we see wickedness of the Amorites is not yet, watch this, he says complete. He says complete. So that means here it is, there is still the last of the end of days, because here it is, Father just said, they're not complete. So that means here it is, their wickedness and their serving other gods is still building up to completion for judgment. Keep that in mind, everybody. So now when we look here, we clearly must go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, because now this is now turning the volume up on the spirit. Deuteronomy chapter 20. And we want to pay close attention to verse 18, everyone. Because here, when we see in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 18, he says clearly this, so that they do not teach you. Watch this. Underline this if you haven't. He says, so that they do not teach you to do all of the abominations that they do for their what? Their gods. And you, here it is, cause this sin against the Almighty One, your Elohim. See that? So now we're seeing this is going on not on just one city. This is going on in all cities. This is not just going on in the east, or here it is in Israel or Jerusalem or Damascus. This is going on around the world, around the globe. So now here it is. This is the anti-Yahweh movement. brothers and sisters. So now realize, this is why many brothers and sisters are lost in the sauce, and here it is, don't understand the rain without an umbrella. Because now here it is, Yah cannot offer you protection, right? Because now you're sacrificing your children to demons, and here it is, you're constantly eating the things that are not healthy for you, and you're constantly getting with people that won't marry you, because here it is, there is no love, and there's strife, and there's always war among even the individuals of humanity. So now realize, one must be subjugated under Yah, because here it is, Yah has the power to break all barriers of the devil, and all, here it is, inclusions that come into your mind and your heart that therefore want to be excluded from your mouth. Therefore, the cursed man and women who therefore view virgins are therefore lukewarmers, and here it is, fighting for their lives. Now, you cannot make this up, brothers and sisters, because now when we look at this, this clearly takes us into Judges chapter 19, that know that YABUSIM is talking about the Jerusalem that therefore here it is, Israel, that's at war right now with Iran. And understand that these are spread abroad, even into the United States and even into the UN from Europe. So now here it is, this is all coming out of the north. This is all set up by, here it is, the anti-Yahweh and the spiritual, here it is, demons that were released from the Euphrates River as it is dry up right now, brothers and sisters. So now here it is, as we go to, what's this? We're going to Judges chapter 19. And we're going to look at Judges 19. I got so many markers in my book. So here, Judges 18. And we're going to pay attention. Judges 19. I'm sorry, I said 18. But here it is. We want to look at Judges 19. Then we're going to look at verse 10 and 11. So now when we get here, we look at verses 10 and 11, right? Chapter 19. The man, however, refused to stay another night. He and his concubine set out with a pair of saddled donkeys and traveled until they came opposite. Now watch this. Why we went here, because we know this whole segment is about YABUSIM, which is Jerusalem, or here it is, the people or nation of Jerusalem, Israel. They came to Jebus. Now, knowing after to David's time, the J was added. So here it is. We know in the Hebrew, here it is, the Greek and the Latin alphabet, there's no J. So now we know why it was YABUSIM, because here it is, that is in Hebrew. And later after David time, therefore the J was added, and we see now here it is, Jew, or those who call themselves so-called Jew, because if we know, and it was Hebrew, there was no J, so how could you even get Jew? So that had to come much later. So now this is why this segment is so important, to give big people the missing puzzle pieces of that understanding, because now when we see Jebus, which is spelled Jebus, which is, as it says in your book, it tells you it is Jerusalem, because here it is, since they were near Jebus, with the day far gone, that means evening was coming, the servant said to his master, "Come, let us turn off to this city of Jebus, Yabusites, the Jebusites. So now we see the Jebusites and spend the night in it. So that is clearly pointing you to Jerusalem, brothers and sisters. So now here it is. This is ancient historical records right here, allowing you to see the movement of time of how the J became in place. But here it is. Who were these people that removed YABUSIM for Jebusites or Jebusites? So add in the J because now we know it came later. But now here it is. Keep this history as we continue. Look at Numbers chapter 13, verse 29. Numbers 13, everyone, verse 29. Because this is pointing you in the direction of why the wars are going on with Lebanon becoming a coalition with Iran as they are supposed to, because it is in the book of the Hebrew Bible. Now here it is. We're knowing this book, this scroll was first beyond anything that was before. Here it is, because the word was with Yah always. And then what came after was man, which made his own books, his own religion, their own, right? So now we don't even have to go. That's a whole nother topic which has been spoken of for most of you who are new here at IVI, Intelligent Voices, Israelites. We are basically allowing you to say, have yourself go to our archive and then therefore stay a little while and explore that as well when you're done here. So now as we look here in Numbers chapter 13, verse 29, let's look. We get to see now also other nations, Amalekites, live in the region of Negeba, Hittites, and here it is, Jebusites, and here it is, Ammonites, dwell in the highlands. That was in the further north, in the highlands, and Canaanites along the sea. That means around Euphrates River and all of the cities of Ammonites. And then we see the banks of the Jordan. Now, then Joshua, after Moses, take the children across the Jordan, but they had to fight against the Ammonites, as we seen earlier in this segment and was pointed out. All of these tribes, before now, more tribes was being a collage in Jerusalem through Damascus and many others, Tel Aviv, and they did wickedness. They didn't serve the Most High. They served many other deities, and they did so much wickedness. And here it is, to the Most High, therefore, was so mad that therefore he brought the wars of other nations up on them, as we have seen. Now let's look clearly at Joshua chapter 10. Let me clear my glasses. Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters who are just tuning in with us here at IVI. We thank you for your time. May you become a subscriber, and you have the opportunity to click that now, or also hit the notification button every time, therefore to be awarded the attention of when we are releasing a video. So now as you have went there to Numbers, we want to look also at First Chronicles, because when we was just here at Numbers, and in Numbers verse 29, it shows even more of who and what is YABUSIM and who are those nations of people there right now. Okay. So now as we have been there, now go to First Chronicles with me, everybody. First Chronicles chapter 11. And just give others a little time. So now when you go to 1 Chronicles chapter 11, we're going to be paying attention closely to verse 4 and 5 because we're going to get an understanding of who these people were, of their ancestors, which now here it is, are the offsprings now living in this country. And now here it is, have completely taken over this country with them. So now here it is, who not and have not kept in Hamashiach, Elohim, El Shaddai. Here it is, Yahweh's decrees, statutes, and ordinance, brothers and sisters. So that means it becomes an indictment upon this person, right? Or persons. So now, when we look clearly in 1 Chronicles, chapter 11, 4 and 5, bear witness. Then David and all Israel went to Jerusalem. That is, see this? He's giving a reference to Jerusalem people, which is Jebusites or Jebus, as they spell it Jebus in most of your books. He says, where the inhabitants of the land were called. See this? He's making known that they weren't living as Israelites, even though they're Israelites. They was living by a different decree that was against, here it is, Hamashiach, called Jebusites. The inhabitants of Jebusites or Jebus said to David, you shall not enter here. David, nevertheless, watch this, conquered the forest of Zion. See that? David never did conquer these people, but people were therefore becoming immersed to the people. That means they were basically becoming included into their abominations. Because here it is, which is the city of David, which will be an abomination. So now here it is. Even though they say David's lineage will carry on, but it carried on with blemishes, brothers and sisters. YABUSIIM have now been transformed out of his national habitat. And now here it is, a rebirth of a new habitat have emerged, but now here it is, only have been revealed to Yah's decree, saying that I will reveal this in my own time to you. So now these puzzle pieces and missed stories and here it is, interludes for some have now not only exploded itself, it have now proven that this is why we're seeing the word wars with Iran right now and why favor is given to Iran. And here it is, and it will continue for Iran and many of those who join with Iran. So here it is. This is allowing us to see in this segment being revealed to of what is going on and why this is not our war, but it is our war for those that therefore are in the world and not of it. Because here it is, we are studying doing the decrees of Yah, trying to reach our brothers and sisters who are the lost Israelites from all colors and all backgrounds to hear the call of the Spirit and to come in and to realize that it is your time to be included or therefore destroyed, because now here it is, excluded. So when we look here at 1 Chronicles for 4 and 5 that we just seen here, we see this, which is the city of David, which is trampled underfoot now. That means Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, all the way down to so on and so on. All right, so now go to Joshua and let's look at chapter 10, verse 5, because this is really allowing us to see why the 4 other Amorite kings, here it is, which was out of Gideon or against Gideon of the time of the Israelites and Jabin. So now when we look here at Joshua, let's go to that first, because I might be makes sense. Let's see. Joshua, what's that? Joshua chapter 10, verse 5. So Joshua 10, verse 5, when we look here, we see clearly that the 5 Amorite kings, see that? So now it's clearly showing you that the Amorites were a tribe that was really running all of those other tribes alongside living together. So now here it is, the 5 Ammonite kings of Jerusalem. Hebron, and here it is, Lachish, as we talked about. And we see that Eglon gathered with all their forces, watch this, and marched against Gideon to make war on it. Now, we remember the walls of Jericho falling, right? We talked about that, brothers and sisters. So now here it is. We can kind of see why war have always been around the Middle East and always been around Israel, as far as Damascus, and here it is, so on and so on. Wars have always been with the people, and here it is, serving other gods, period. So we're seeing what kind of people was there, right? So now as we see this, now go to Joshua chapter 11, verse 3. So now when we see here, he says the type of people that, one sec. He says the type of people, actually, as we see in 11, verse 3, he says these were Canaanites to the east. Did I say that, brothers and sisters? And also by the Euphrates River, as we see, going to the west, Ammonites, Hittites, Perizzites, there we go, YABUSIM, Jebusites, in the mountain regions, and the Hivites at the foot of Hermon, in the land of Mapah. So now as we see this clearly, is Yah showing you the transformation has have already happened, brothers and sisters. The Israelis that are over there, along with many other Philistines and many others, are not the actual people of Yah who serve Yah. They've been scattered throughout the land of the Amorites and the YABUSIM, who therefore works in Europe and hands, Britain hands, the American hands, and so on and so on. And when you tie all of these hands back, you become right back to the ones that therefore the beast or the devil, spirits and demons have been always working with under all curses. And here it is, and you can see why these nations have always been under a judgment of Yah, right? Because here it is, they didn't follow the decrees. And now when we look here and see this in Joshua chapter 3, we must go also to Judges, because this causes Yah to bring judgment on the nation of the people, brothers and sisters. Meaning that here it is in Judges chapter 3, verse 5. Watch this. This is a very old book. All right, sticking page. Sorry about that, y'all. So Judges chapter 3, verse 5. Now, when we look here, you see clearly, it says, so the Israelites, watch this. Then I just say that then therefore they just merged, and here it is. they actually intermarried, and that also brought on judgment from Yah. This caused judgment to come on these nations because it polluted the Israelites who were trying to save their lives by serving Yah. So the Israelites settled among the Canaanites, Hittites, Ammonites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites. And here it is. We see that clearly, right? And this was the influence of the world, brothers and sisters, which brought us, thank you, Father, which brought us all other religions, everyone to be under. And here it is. This is what separated man and woman and child that's old enough to think for themselves away from Yah, Hamashiach, Elohim. And this is what have brought many judgment on the people individually, just by following after the traditions of men and women who influence the earth and have also been doing this out of the love and respect of their ancestors who also did it. And now have only brought things into more destruction with AI. So now judgment is going to be more extreme than it even was for their ancestors. But at least you're now finding out when you hear the word YABUSIIM, a person is speaking in Hebrew to you about Jerusalem. Or if you hear a conversation of that word into a sentence, then you know they're talking about Jerusalem, if you're at an airport or wherever you might be. So now clearly, brothers and sisters, as we have looked here in Judges 3, verse 5, we clearly have now brought ourselves unto 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 6, when David became king, because now here it is, we see it called the city of David, but here it is, that slogan is basically trampled underfoot because it's not righteous anymore. As we just pointed out, most of the Israelites at the time before being kicked out or thrown out, even the Ethiopians who remained, became trampled underfoot. And that means here it is, they didn't keep the laws or the statutes. They twisted the book and they twisted history. And they gave you another influence. And here it is, Yah says, but I have saved the day, and here it is, to the last of days to reveal the truth, wisdom, knowledge, understanding unto all those who have an ear, who can hear what the Spirit of Yah is saying. In his messengers, sons and daughters, who he raised up in the last days. So now here it is, who will be full of his Spirit and bring forth the mysteries unto man and woman. So now here it is, we are seeing clearly the people, or why we're having wars, why the prices of your gas and have gone up, and many other things around the world. Just imagine the third world countries that have not had the pleasures as Americans have, such as you and I. This brings on a whole different type of hunger, just as my father, your father, have stated. I will release locusts into the land. They will eat up the resources until they're all gone. This will bring on panic with also pestilence and also other germs. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. So now here it is, when we are looking and seeing these things of phenomenons come true, one must realize you need to come by a choice now, a real choice. Because now the real words are being revealed unto man and unto woman. And here it is traveling as a frequency of my Father, your Father, Hamashiach, Elohim El Shaddai, Shalom, Shalom, unto my brothers and my sisters who receive the name. So now look at 2 Samuel with me. Let me get there first. I need that marker in there. Second Samuel, everyone, chapter 5. And we're going to be paying very close attention to verse 6, because at this time of David, when David became king, now we know that when he became king, he even did some things that was basically not accepted by Yah. Then therefore repentance came upon David, right? We remember. So now remember in verse 6 and chapter second Samuel, brother and sister, 5 and 6. Then the king of his men went to Jerusalem against. Now we just seen that David never conquered Zion, which is Jerusalem. And he says, then the king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites who inhabit the land. They told David, see this? You shall not enter here. The blind, the lame will drive you away, which was their way of saying, David shall not enter here. See that? So now here it is. It was decreed way before before the awe came that, oh, David didn't conquer Jerusalem. Yes, he did not conquer Jerusalem. It became trampled underfoot, though, by first the Amorites, the Hittites, the Jebusites. And then we see that therefore many Hephites later on came and also finished trampled it underfoot, as we see Tel Aviv today as being done some of the wickedest sexual things and crimes that it's unknown unto man and woman. So now when we see this here in chapter 5, verse 6, it clearly gives you the proof David never did capture the city of Zion, but he called it the city of David instead, right? So now here it is. Let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 24 now, okay? Because here it is, Arana, which is the Jebusite, here it is, he was also networking with David to purchasing, here it is, the land for the temple. So now when we go here in 2 Samuel, brothers and sisters, look at 2 Samuel chapter 24 and look at verses 18 through 25 for this wisdom, this knowledge, this understanding of logic. And we're going to see here it is, David's census and also about the plagues at this time. But here it is. We're going to skip over that, and you can read that at your own time. But stay there and look at verse 18, which talks about David offers sacrifice. Now, on the same day, Gad went to David. Now, this is the Gadnite tribe. And said to him, go and set up an altar. Watch this. Remember, an altar to the Almighty One on the thrashing floor of Arana. So now you see that Hebrew word. Arana means ark sown and I think for protection. So now here it is. The Jebusite, according to Gad's word, David went up to the Almighty One and had commanded. Now Arana looked down and saw the king and his servants coming towards him while he was thrashing wheat. So he went out and bowed down before the king. Watch this. This is David, right? His face to the ground. Then Arana asked, why does, watch this, at this time they called themselves lords. Why do my lord, my king, watch this, come to his servant? David replied, to buy the thrashing floor from you, to build an altar, watch this, to the Almighty One, that the plague, watch this, that the plague, did I just say David, when he came into being king, he also killed a man because he wanted his wife, right? Y'all know the story. So, and many other wicked things were going on. And he says that the plague may be withdrawn from the people. The people. Who were them people? The Amorites, the Jebusites, Hittites, who we spoke of, who are basically still today, who are the offsprings of historical ancestors, are still keeping many other gods, different religions, and serving self, and here it is, instead of serving anyone else. That means atheism. So now, brothers and sisters, he said he did this that the plague may be withdrawn from the people. But Araunah said to David, let my lord, the king, take it and offer up what is good in his sight. See, here are the oxen for burnt offering. So now this is education. And the thrashing sled and the yokes of all oxen for wood. And then he says, all this does Araunah give to the king. Araunah then said to the what? King, may the Almighty One, your YAHUAH, accept your offering. The king, however, replied to Araunah, no, I will buy it from you at a what? Proper time. The king, however, replied to Araunah, no, I will buy it from you at a proper time, for I cannot sacrifice. Watch this. Who said that? David. He says, for I cannot sacrifice to the Almighty One, my YAHUAH, burnt offerings that cost me nothing. See this? So David bought the thrashing floor and the oxen for 50 silver shekels. Then David built an altar to the Almighty One there in Jerusalem, and sacrificed burnt offerings and communion offerings. And the Almighty granted relief to the land, and the plagues were withdrawn from the Israelites, because it was about the people, as we just seen. So now, brothers and sisters, this is clearly allowing us to see why this segment message is so strong for a huge piece of history that has been missing from time in your mind. Now we're seeing why Yah have risen IVI up in our brothers and sisters, as you are in intelligent voices Israelites, because here it is. This frequency will travel by its information. And now, as we see clearly, this is allowing us now to understand Ezra. We must go look at Ezra chapter 9. Ezra chapter 9, because this he was very important to actually making sure the understanding of closure to the people, to have a perfect understanding of Yah's laws, decrees, commandments, and so on, offerings. So now when we look at Ezra, and we're going to look at chapter 9, verse 1. Because we just seen even David went to Araunah because he wanted to try to save the people from the wickedness. As we seen even after David, this continued on in the land. But at the same time with David, here it is, we're seeing what was going on in the land. And then we seen what happened with Solomon, the son, and then so on, as many of you know that story. So now here in Ezra chapter 9, verse 1, he says, now this was the crisis of them intermarrying. Now remember, David did this as well, killed a man just to get his wife. Now realize this have only exploded now. You see many people going to online app dates, see, and AI have everybody into their phones. But here it is. They're also marrying each other, who are basically just as wicked as themselves, and they're fighting. And you're seeing this with celebrities and many other people now, right? When these matters, in chapter 9, Ezra, verse 1, when these matters have been concluded, the leaders approached me with this report. Watch this. Neither the Israelites, or here it is, the laymen, nor the priests, because you have the servants, then you have the priests, nor the Levites, this was of Aaron, have kept themselves, watch this, didn't I tell you this? Have kept themselves separate from the peoples of the land. Remember, Joshua took them into the Jordan across it, what we started with earlier. In their abominations, he says across the land, and he says have kept and have not kept themselves separated from the peoples of the lands and their abominations that I told them not to. Here it is. The Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites. You see them popping up now. Egyptians. See more. It took a small fume for it to now explode, and here it is set off for aroma for all others to be pulled into. So now all of these nations are being pulled in, and here it is, are still in power today and still ruling, and here they're still ruining the land, but they're trampling it underfoot because everything starts from Jerusalem, Israel, in the land of Africa, as we move farther up into Lebanon, Iraq, okay, where there's many resources. So now here it is, that which is now ran by the YABUSIIM. And here it is, many of Europe and many of the UN and many of those of the hill country. Its father is also the East and also now some of the West. And now as we continue and we see this, brothers and sisters, and the Amorites after the Egyptians, for they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and their sons, intermingling the set apart seed, see this, with the people of the land. Furthermore, the leaders also and their rulers also have taken a prominent part in a what? Apostate. So that means brothers and sisters who are breaking the law for the want of lust. And here it is. It also grew because lust don't have to necessarily be only sexual. This could be a crave for money. This can be a crave for anything, brothers and sisters. So now Ezra took us to a place to understand that, because here it is. We have made known, right? Because here it is. Yah says, here it is, Ezra was the second of the three key leaders to leave Babylon. Now we know Abram did, for the reconstruction of Jerusalem. Zerubbabel arrived in Jerusalem, here it is, in 536, brothers and sisters, or BC, and reconstructed the temple. Now we know David never did conquer Jerusalem, as we just pointed out. Now we're understanding why the book of Israel go hand in hand with some of those scriptures that we just wrote down earlier, to bring everything tightly together. Because now here it is, when we see the reconstruction of the temple, Nehemiah rebuilt the walls, and Nehemiah we see in chapter 1 and chapter 2, and Ezra restored the worship. So now here it is, this is two brothers later on basically coming to restore Israelites. Israel was the scribe and the priest, and he was sent, here it is, with Israelites, here it is, understanding of wisdom and knowledge and understanding, political powers by the Persian king Artaxerxes, and he led the group of Jewish exile from Babylon to Jerusalem. Ezra condemned mixed marriages and encouraged Hebrews, not Jews, to divorce and banished their foreign wives of Amorite, Jebusites, as we have now, you understand. Israel renewed the celebration of festivals. Most brothers and sisters don't keep Yah's festivals. They go by man, Christmas, Valentine's, birthday, so on and so on. That means this is a brother or a sister out of sync with reality, meaning that therefore they don't know about the return, or they know and refuses. Because here it is, anything that's over the past of age 2 and 3 have the option now of knowing what is right and what is wrong as they have grown into adulthood. So now here it is, they don't know. They didn't know until Ezra renewed the celebrations and festivals and supported the rededications of the temples and the rebuilding of Jerusalem walls. And it also, here it is, described him as reshaping the community in accordance with the Torah. That was the law, what I was just talking about earlier, brothers and sisters. Israel's goal was to implement the Torah, to explain it. That's why David and Arana, here it is, this is bringing everybody together. And here it is why David went to Arana, so he can get, here it is, blessed and get the people blessed. So now as we see, here it is, it reshaped everything. And here it is, incredibly, here it is, allowed him to remain the model leader. The book of Ezra continues from where 2nd Chronicles with Cyrus, the king of Persia, as we just seen here through a stipulation, issuing a decree to permit the Hebrews of his kingdom to return to Jerusalem after 70 years of captivity. YAHUAH is universally sovereign and can be, here it is, king, here it is, polylistic, I would say, king of Persia, to make possible his people, and here it is, to release them. He used Artagus and the Persian king to authorize and finance the trip in Israel to teach Yah's people his laws. This same king also helped Nehemiah. Y'all know about Nehemiah. He also was doing the same thing to restore some measures of the respectability of YAHUAH's set-apart city, which was Jerusalem, which is still being trampled underfoot, everybody. So now when we look at this here, we're going to pull up some things that also many of you didn't understand, that Israel, here it is, actually in 457 BC, here it is, bringing this thing back to power in Yahweh under these Israelites. Now look at Israel chapter 7, verse 8. Israel chapter 7, verse 8. So we can see the work that righteousness put in for the kingdom of Yah. Thank you, Father. So now, as you might not be, you might be there now in verse 8, Israel came to Jerusalem in the 5th month. Now, what is the 5th month? Now, you ask most brothers and sisters, what's the 5th month? Anyone that's walking down the street, man, what's the 5th month? January, February, March, April. Oh, that's May. No, we ain't talking about man's calendar. I'm talking about Yah's 360 calendar. April, May, June, July, August. See that? So the 5th month will be August. So now here it is. He said clearly, watch this. It's in the book, brothers and sisters, right? He says, Israel came to Jerusalem in the 5th month of August of that 7th year. Watch this. Of the king. So now here it is, putting 2 and 2 together, right? Israel, here it is, commanded or condemned mixed marriages, encouraged Hebrews to divorce. Let's look at verse 9, because we're going to go all the way to verse 12 in this same chapter. Verse 9, on the first day of the month, or the first month, he began to journey up. Watch this. From where? Where Abram came from. Babylon. And on the first day of the 5th month, which will be August, he arrived. Watch this. at Jerusalem. Now you're getting the opportunity to see it was the first month when he took action to go to Jerusalem. How many months did it take for him to get there? Because it said clearly he began the first month up to go to Babylon. And on the first day of the 5th month, you see that? So now here it is. It is clearly, it took him April, May, June, July, and August to make this trip. He arrived at Jerusalem for the favoring. Watch this. This is why he was going. Favoring hand of his Elohim Yah was over him. See this? So now, brothers and sisters, that means you have to have spiritual encounterment with the spirit of YAHUAH in order to stay in covenant and being decreed. Because here it is. This show that Israel was in decree. That means in the spirit of Yah. So now as we continue, verse 11. Verse 10. Israel has set him his heart on the study. Watch this. He set his heart up on the study. So now, brothers and sisters, in order for you to say or knock anything, are you working or are you making yourself an effort for righteousness towards the Elohim? Because if you're not, then you need to shut your mouth. Because here it is, you will later be destroyed if you don't come out of being lukewarm. Because it's clearly saying that you will be drifted into all of these wicked things that Yah did not like. And here it is. It is by the YABUSIIM, who they're basically running a lot of this influence from out of Tel Aviv of Israel. So now, as we know, when you look up, Israel is now the homosexual capital of the country, of the world. So now here it is. Everybody should know that, right? And here it is. A lot of abomination have come out of there and still coming out. So now he says in verse 10, Ezra has set his heart on the study and practice of the law of Elohim Yah and on teaching status or statutes in the ordinance in Israelites. This is the copy of the, here it is, rescript which King Artaxerxes gave Ezra, the priest scribe, the scribe versed in matters concerning the Almighty's. Watch this. He was conversed. That means well educated in the law, in the matters concerning the Almighty One's commandments. Those who say they keep the 10 when there's only 12. Because here it is. Yah says, I must bring you into completeness under my statutes. But here it is, I must draw you away from YABUSIIM, because here it is, this is a worldly thing that also comes from Babylon, as we have seen. So have merged together with the rest of these tribes and nations who are wicked people, right? And constantly serving not Elohim Yah, the Almighty Father, but serving the devil and demonic forces and witchcraft and many other things that would give them power for doing wickedness, right? So now, clearly, as we see, go to chapter 7 and same chapter and look at verse 10. Again, Ezra has set his heart on the study. See, brothers and sisters got to understand, in order to be a true Israelite, you got to set your heart on the study. That means here it is. Now that most of our brothers here who are IVI, shalom to all of you around the world who are with us here today and maybe pick up the stream later. We send out our shalom because we know that you did the necessary steps that we did, which therefore Israel did. And we are basically still trying to throw out the lifesaver for many of our family members, friends, and co-workers, and so on, neighbors, who therefore we want to actually see that their spirit is in this formality. Because if it's not, then therefore we don't want to waste our time. So he says, Israel has set his heart on the study and also practice. Now, when you set yourself on something, that means here it is, you're putting in the necessary work, which is the practice to receive information of clarity. Clarity give you wisdom by knowledge and understanding. And it also frees you completely from Hosea 4:6, because now there's no more lacking. Because now he says the law of Elohim, Yah, and on teaching. So now only will you receive the blessing of wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You will release it into those that Yah have directed you into. Because here it is, Yah says, you didn't choose me, I chose you. So here it is, people have to be patient. And we see impatience is in most of all of those nations that we now have seen in the Hebrew name that is surrounded to. The YABUSIIM. Here it is. All of these nations now are not just one nation of people. You see, now they are a cluster of nation of people who are constantly today as the offspring of ancestors doing wickedness and creating more wickedness, right? So now, as we have seen this, this gives us Ezra chapter 5, because here it is, Ezra comes back from captivity in Babylon, expecting to find the people serving the Almighty with gladness. But upon his return to Jerusalem, he found the opposite. He was frustrated, sorrowful. His heart ached in pain and misunderstanding, but he still trusted in the Almighty. He wanted the Almighty One to change the situation and to blame himself for not being able to change the people's heart. See, this is what many of us here at IVI do. We want all saved, but we know all won't be, because Yah is in us and he tells and directs us into the people that therefore he knows that is ready. So now here it is. He wanted the people to know how important the essential, here it is, the word of YAHUAH was. Nothing must be, here it is, subsided, or here it is, persuaded out of the worship of Yah, but only obedience supposed to be. Now, Yah looks over and protects his children, always keeping his promise and providing encouragement, my brothers and sisters, through those who he sends. When even his plan seems to be interrupted, as with the rebuilding of Jerusalem, because now you found out that David, therefore, trampled also under the foot of Jerusalem. Yah steps in at the appropriate time to continue his plan. And now here it is, as we see here in Ezra chapter 5, verse 1 through 2. Then the prophets, Haggai, see that? And Zechariah, here it is, began to prophesy to the Hebrews in Judah, in Jerusalem, in the name of YAHUAH. You see that? They wasn't othering no other gods. So that means they were restoring. Israel was restoring what was messed up prior. So he says, the name of YAHUAH of Israel, there upon Zerubbabel, and he said, Zodak, began again to build a house, is of YAHUAH in Jerusalem with the prophets. See that? Of YAHUAH. Not the prophets of all of those that therefore was part of YABUSIIM, because we've seen that they were pagan and worship paganism. He says the prophets of YAHUAH giving them support. So now Israel, now you can see why he's so important to the reestablishment of bringing back the remnant under the guidance and power of Yah. Even when his plan seemed to be interrupted, we can see Yah coming back, using men, and here it is, bringing things back into order. Now, look at Ezra again, chapter 7, verse 9. Now, flip back. He says, on the first day of the first month, he began the journey up from Babylon, and on the first day of the 5th month, he arrived at Jerusalem, for the favoring hand of his YAHUAH was over him. Now, why we did that? Because brothers and sisters must realize everything takes time. Don't think that you'll be instantly turned back into your full Israelite self overnight. It won't happen. It's going to take time, as we've seen with Israel getting from a place to a place. So that means patience have to be a part of you, and that helps you fight for your strength. And here it is, steadfastness, because here it is, your understanding. You do not want to fall in any category of YABUSIIM, because here it is, this will therefore bring you into cultism, and here it is, witchcraft, and here it is, Buddhism, Catholicism, Protestantism, and many other isms, right? So now here it is, as we see, let's go to 1 Corinthians. Go to 1 Corinthians with me, everyone. Shalom, shalom to all our new brothers and sisters just tuning in with us. We thank you for your time. Now, when we see here in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, we're paying attention to verse 19. It says, do you not know that your body, it's talking about this, that your body is a temple. Now we got Chinese people say they go to a temple, the Cheyenne temple, see Kung Fu movies and many others. But here it is. You don't realize that now that Yah has decreed that all human bodies are a temple made for him who believe in him. Because he says clearly, verse 6 was that, verse 19, right? He says, do you not know that your body is a temple of, now we know holy is a pagan word, so to remove it, it means set apart. So now when we read it, he says, do you not know that your body is a temple of the set apart spirit? Because Yah is not a spirit that is among the Ammonites, Jebusites, Jebusites, Gasconites, who are sinful people or nation, Ammonites, Moab. He says, no, I am a set apart spirit. That means I remain in righteousness. He says, within you. So that means now if you're a temple, he is set apart from the wickedness, here it is, always, and you are now too with the spirit. And he says, now within you, whom you have, because this is not given to you by Yahweh's authority, but through the Father who he serves authority. And now all spirits are now under the Son. He says, from YAHUAH, and that you are not of your own. So now here it is. Then in the Garden of Eden, they ate from the garden, and then they realized they was naked. Now here it is. We seeing that Yah, here it is, have come back again to allow others to know, I am giving you life if you return to me, but for you have been purchased at a price, therefore glorify YAHUAH in your spirits and in your hearts. So now we're seeing clearly, brothers and sisters, this is the crossover now that one must understand that many people are being ran by the YABUSIIM. And here it is, traditional ways which come by man. Okay? So now here it is, you just can't make this up. Now when we go to John chapter 10, regular John, we see a great thing here, because here it is, opposing forces in Christian lives today is evil himself, Satan, who has come to destroy many in turn to destroy Yah's temple. See, this is what he's trying to get you to do. He got people out there being alcoholics, drug addicts, sexual immorality, piercings, and many other things with their temple, their body. And here it is breaking down the little spirit that they have been given free will to, because here it is, everyone have been born through the womb, given free spirit. But here it is, the spirit to now realize right and wrong, just like your ancestors who were Adam and Eve once they ate from the tree. Then they knew a lot about good and evil, about disobedience against Yah, who said not eat from the tree. And woman learned to respect her husband who told her not to, because he is the head covering of her. And they are one spirit and one flesh under Yah. But one is a leader and one is a servant. As we have seen throughout this segment, one have been a servant to the leader, and the leader have only given the power to the Father, the glory unto Yah. So now here it is, as we do in our spirit and our heart with Yahweh. Now understand, our goals should be worthy in Yahuwah's eyes as well as our own. Yesterday's sorrows can be today's successes, brothers and sisters, if the hand of the Almighty One is upon us. Now we got to understand, Ezra's goals was worthy in Yahuwah's eyes. And he effectively used the returning Hebrews' sorrow for the successes of rebuilding Yahuwah's city and restoring worship to the people, giving them righteous understanding. So, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for tuning in with us today, allowing us to be the fulfillment and to bring you this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yah, and to allow ourselves to be here with you all, enjoying this fruit of eternal spirit of life by Hamashiach. I am your friend, your brother, Yazrael Yashambayah. In my Father's obedience, I am. And unto you, brothers and sisters, I send out my peace to you and shalom. Until next time we meet here at IVI, Intelligent Voices Israelites. Shalom, shalom. Even also, I send it out for my wife, Yazrael Micaiah. Amen, amen, amen.